All right, here we go. Carlos Navarro's 22-year entertainment career spans the media spectrum from radio, television, and film to commercials and video games. His rise in acting is reflected in his roles on some of entertainment's biggest cultural phenomena, including, wait for it, Bloodline, Walking Dead, Red Dead Redemption 2, The Outsider, Identity Theft, Unbreakable Kimmy Schmidt, and Marvel's Hawkeye miniseries on Disney Plus, where he played the villainous role of Enrique in the Tracksuit Mafia. Carlos is a cast member on the #1 rated Orlando talk show, Monsters in the Morning, on iHeartRadio's Real Radio 104.1. Monsters in the Morning is also the #1 podcast in Florida. What? And in the top 40 podcasts in the country on iHeartRadio/goals. While the actor, iHeartRadio showman, and entertainer continues to have his sights on Hollywood and new acting roles, his most gratifying project yet is happening on a new stage as a personal development coach and speaker, where he helps others find their inner motivation, realize their passions, and strive for the top. Carlos, welcome. I'm so excited to have you here today. I'm super pumped. It's a pleasure to meet you.
Well, thank you so much for having me, Amy. It's really nice to be here, especially it's kind of you to say all that. I know it's my bio, but I don't read my bio every day. I don't know about you. Yeah. But being here, especially everything that you always cover is a treat. So I'm excited about it as well.
Well, that's amazing. And something that you and I have in common is that we're both in recovery. So what I love about that is automatically I know that we speak the language of the heart, which right. Is just, that's the best ever. It's just the best. It fills my soul, and I know it fills your soul. And I would love to just unpack, first of all, some of your background and how you came to get sober, and just launch into however much of your story you would like to tell. I'm here for it.
Okay, awesome. Thanks, Amy. I think I'll stick with the drinking part up front, or the sobriety. Is drinking was always around me. My mom was an alcoholic, also an addict, not we think she was the classic 70s, 80s. They drank every day. They took pills to feel better, but nobody even called it addiction at that point. Mm-hmm. So it was always around me. And I always grew up with parties, and I'm Hispanic. So there was always a party every weekend, and there was, it was always associated with good times. And so at a young age, I started drinking, about probably 13, 12, around there. And immediately was connecting. I was very angry when I drank. It was immediate. I fought, the first time I ever drank, I fought my buddy, and it wasn't even it was just it came out. Mm. And that just was the main theme of my drinking. Not every time. A lot of people, they ask you, oh, why'd you quit drinking? You're not into you like that. And it's well, it wasn't like that every time, but when it was bad. Got me arrested 3 times, charged, or almost convicted of a felony. It's about as bad as you can get for fighting. And so it was just always this albatross around me, just always weighing me down, and until it just snip, and man, did the universe open up in so many ways. So I feel it's my moral obligation to kind of talk about it.
I love it. I love it so much. Yeah. The whole being arrested and all of that. And yeah, it's amazing the chaos that comes with the unmanageability of being so stuck in the disease and not being able to find your footing. And I've been there. And what would you say would be the moment, if you had to pick a moment where you were just you know what, I'm done, I can't do this anymore, surrender?
I would love to say there's been several of those moments in my life. Those I'll never do it again moments.
Yeah.
I found your back has to be against the wall. Like
Mhm.
you really have to. I haven't found, very rarely would I say that I found somebody that quit drinking, that drinking was a real negative in their life. Of course, there's like, oh, I'm gaining weight, or I act like I act kind of silly, but I'm talking about life threatening. And that's what I had. I have a life threatening issue.
Mhm.
I either was going to die on it, or because of my nature and my background, I would have killed somebody on
Mhm.
it. That almost happened. I almost killed somebody.
Mhm.
Um, I've never really put it in those terms before because it's pretty brutal when you do it, but it was like a good friend of mine.
Mhm.
And I was drinking all day, part of this crazy radio show. I'm early 20s, and drinking all day. And a guy that I knew that was a former friend, that I had beef and drama. And if I was sober, I never would have probably said a word, but I was drunk and I found him. And I beat him up bad in front of a lot of people. I went to jail.
Mhm.
It was a felony charge. Luckily, by the grace of God, I didn't get convicted of a felony. It would have affected my life in so many ways, especially everything I'm doing.
Mhm.
So I had to quit, and I did quit then. I quit for a long time. It was not the final time I quit, but it was definitely that sobering moment of, oh my God, my whole life is really gone right now.
Mhm. Yep. And then did you go to treatment, or what did you do after that?
So I went pretty proactive with it because I knew what was happening. So I went to AA.
Mhm.
That was jarring.
Mhm.
I didn't go step by step AA, but the meetings were because I knew that was going to happen. So I started going way ahead of time. I quit. And I really, really dove into personal development and self-help. The Secret was out then.
Mhm.
A bunch of stuff that's really the beginning of this renaissance of kind of personal development, I think. And then I separated myself from situations. The best piece of
Mhm.
advice I got:
Yes.
don't put yourself in situations. My buddy Ziggy, my best man, my dude I partied with, still to this day, one of my best friends.
Mm.
Best piece of advice: don't put yourself in situations. I was the party guy. My identity was connected, synonymous with the drinking and partying and stuff like that. And I didn't know any different. It was like, I can't see myself as that now, but then I couldn't see myself any different,
Mm.
and so it was a multitude of steps, slowly,
Mhm.
consistently.
Mhm. I love so much that you mentioned having to, get I mean, the way I have phrased it, which I stole from the rooms, PS, but all new playgrounds and playmates. And, we had to move. I had to move to a new city because I was drinking every day in the afternoons with my neighbors, where I lived. So I was like,
Exactly.
this isn't sustainable, and yeah. So
Yeah.
it takes a lot. Yeah, it takes a lot. It takes a big commitment, the whole willing to go to any lengths. And
I
yeah.
tell you this, Amy, you also have to make a decision. And I say decision intentionally, not choice. We make the choices after that big night of drinking.
Mhm.
Okay, I'm not going to drink for a whole week, and I'm going to do it. That's a choice, right? Or I think I'm going to quit drinking. But okay, up until this weekend, that's another choice. But when you make a decision, I
Yeah.
can no longer drink because I will die from it. I
Yeah.
can no longer drink because my actions affect my entire family.
Right.
That's a decision. That's a grown up big boy decision. Kids make choices.
Right. Well, and I love that because that's like the second and third step right there is the whole idea of like, I can decide I'm going to go to LA, but until I buy a plane ticket or I get in the car and actually get gas and go, it's just talking. It's just kind of like, well, I've made a choice, but taking that action step, that's like that solid footing, just getting going and just saying, no, I'm determined and I'm going to do it. And having that resolve. And it takes a lot. It takes a lot. So you're currently married and you have
Yes.
some kids. What's your family life?
My family life is like my everything, really. It is It is kind of like that. The exact opposite that I grew up in, to be honest, like not in a bad way. Like I love the way I grew up. It was wild. We were first generation Americans. Spanish was our first language. I would watch these families on TV and like this like wholesome, like they go eat dinner at the same time. They coach softball. The wife decorates beautifully. Like I am blessed, Amy. That's my life. And I almost risked all of this like heaven type stuff, like amazing type life, because I couldn't control myself. And I think, man, God, thank you, universe, thank you. Just whatever got in me and it's my wife, really. Like that's the biggest thing is my wife, Megan, who straightened me up, like she was the one who was like, what are you doing? And I don't know
Yes.
about you, but usually it takes like one person that can get to you. And that was my wife, Megan.
Yeah. What a great, amazing thing to have that kind of support. And I have that too. And my husband, I mean, I wouldn't have stayed with me. There's no way, and so it's crazy to think that there are these, people out there who just have that sense of they can see that, okay, this person is sick. I'm going to choose to, walk them through it, stay around. I mean, I find that amazing. I just don't know. I think I'm too selfish, honestly. I don't think I would have the patience,
It's weird. I doubt that, Amy. You don't create a whole podcast helping people being selfish. I think we do that at times. Like we'll do these things like, I could, but like, I'm sure you balance your husband out in a totally other way. I balance my mental health, thankfully, even through all this, is pretty dang good because I had a very good infrastructure of like mental health. I was like supported, like you can do stuff. But my wife, not to say her parents didn't, they did, but her mental health had always struggled. So I was always that other side of being there for her and supporting her in the mental health aspect where she didn't have any problems with the drinking, so that's what I found. It was like, that's how we evened each other out. Because if it's one way, then you're a mommy or you're a daddy. You know what I'm saying? And nobody wants that as their partner.
Mm-hmm. It's so true, right? One person parenting the other doesn't make for a great partnership, particularly in marriage.
It's not sexy.
No,
It's not sexy. Like you want to be sexy to your partner. You don't want them. Did you eat your vegetables today? Did you eat? Did you have a drink today, Carlos? No, I didn't, mommy. Thank you.
Oh.
And
I'm laughing because I relate. You know what I mean? Like
yeah.
I remember, just being, I said to my husband, I feel, and this is while I was drinking, I feel like I'm always in trouble.
Yes.
I just always felt like I was just busted, and that he was just going to come around the corner or like strike me with a lightning bolt or something. And I just, it didn't make for some good marital days. Let me just wrap it up by saying that, it's like.
When did you quit drinking?
2011.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. Yeah, that's a long time. Good for you. You're over 10 years. That's a big deal.
Yeah.
Congrats.
I mean, thank you. I appreciate that. It is wild because, there was a time where I was like, I know I'm going to fail, so I don't even want to try. Like I already had that narrative going inside of me that there's no use trying because I won't make it. And so it is amazing to think now, wow, it's been over a decade, and for me, I just credit the 12-step program for that and my hard work through those steps and everything. But
I love the 12-step program. I've read it. I didn't fully participate through it, but I really, really believe in the sense of ownership, in the sense of like, I believe in ownership to the degree of like, even in situations, I just went through one where like I was outright lied to. I was outright like, it would just, and my wife she understands the situation, but I take ownership of it. You know what? Somewhere along the line, I didn't do something. I'm not taking like I did anything wrong, but when you take ownership, just like with your drinking, then you can move on, because I was a victim for a long time. My mommy drank and mentally abused me, so I can drink and I can fight because victim. The four agreements is something I live by as well.
Oh yeah, love it.
And it's like you get this victim or judge going, and people live in it the whole time. They're either the victim or they're judging. They're either the victim or they're judging. And like right now, I'm in the warrior part. I'm in the part that's like defending myself from those limiting beliefs and those demons, man. Those other day I had to get out of a room, Amy. Like, I'm good around alcohol. I'm good, but there are moments, man, like I was on Friday on my radio show, we do beer of the week every week. Okay. and the greatest liquors and drinks in the world come in. And most of the time it doesn't bother me. And then every now and then I hear that little devil talking to me. He's like, oh, don't you want to try that tequila? Doesn't it sound so good? And I got to leave, remove myself from the situation, take ownership of it.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I still suffer from that from time to time. And it's triggered by what you just described. It's triggered by if I get in a situation, usually with people, where it's like I've been lied to, or, something happens where the perception of me has been kind of damaged, which I realize that part is my ego.
Sure.
But, where I feel like misrepresented, where
Yes.
like, wait a minute, that's not at all what happened, and I just want to like make it right. And so I'll get that internal struggle of like, F this, I want to escape this, like, screw you guys, I'm just like halfway out the door. So, yeah, I'm grateful we have tools, because I didn't have any tools when I rolled in here. Like, I was doing the whole victim, martyr, back and forth, just things. So yeah, I can relate.
Rituals are important. Daily rituals, affirmations. I mean, I think we go down the line of the things that help. Everybody is different though, but just getting out of those situations is the easiest. Willpower Doesn't Work is a great book. I would highly recommend it to anybody that thinks, I hear this all the time, I got the strongest willpower in the world. Look, I love pizza and I think I have strong willpower, but you put a pizza in front of me, that may be the day I even make a decision. I'm not eating pizza for 30 days. And then you slide that New York style cheese by my face and I'm going to eat it.
Yeah.
So
like, I'm only human. Yeah,
exactly. So, I know a lot of people may be seeking some info, especially coming to your podcast, and I think that's just like the biggest one. Like, just don't go. You don't need to go to the party. Here's another one. You want to know a big one? Don't tell people you quit drinking. Okay, do this. I had to go to events where literally sponsored by alcohol on a cruise, booze cruise, my name on the title, Carlos Navarro's Booze Cruise. I haven't told anybody I quit drinking. So I walk in and I was like, if I tell one person I quit drinking, they're gonna be like, shut up, Carlos. So you know what I did? I had a glass that had a shade on it, so you couldn't see what it was. What are you drinking? I'm drinking some whiskey, man. Blah, blah, blah. Because the second you let people in, how long you quit drinking? 2 days ago. Get out of here, have a drink, right?
Yeah.
So you wait, and then they go, how long you quit drinking? I quit drinking 6 months ago. Oh, you serious about it?
Yeah.
Little tips.
I love that. I love that so much. Tell me about your morning routine. You were just saying, because you mentioned the rituals and the affirmations. I'm a big believer in both of those. So I love it. Is that like your morning thing, or is that?
Oh, yeah.
I shouldn't have assumed it was a morning thing. Okay.
No, you're right. I wholeheartedly believe that you win the morning, you win the day. And I have to be at my radio show is 5 hours from 6 to 11. So I have this home studio, which is nice because I can wake up and come over here. But then a lot of times I go to Orlando, which is a little bit further away. My point is, I think when you're younger, you get up and you go to, okay, I got to get clothes on and I got to go and I head out the door. Next thing you're driving to an appointment and you're thinking about this and you're just bound to fail. And because you're not making conscious choices. So if you can get some rituals, some of my rituals are daily affirmations in the present tense. I am a successful radio show host, a lot with family. I am a successful father. My wife is healthy and happy and content. These kind of bold affirmations and then very specific goals. I don't go like 10 pages. I write it out. I also have it on another page. I try and meditate for 5 minutes. I'm no yogi. I'm no meditation master. My goal is to sit and not move for 5 minutes. Try that, everybody. Try that today. Try and sit with your eyes closed and not move for 5 minutes in silence. Good luck. In this day and age, you're like,
hard, right?
and then I listen and I tap. I actually do something called EFT, which is emotional freedom technique. And so I do a lot of tapping to get myself pumped up before big shows, before an audition, before getting ready, before an interview. And I connected to music. So there's a bunch of stuff. I wish I did it every day. And I do a certain amount of it every day. But the days I do all of them, it's like bing, bang, boom. Oh, my wife would be like, oh, you did all the stuff today too. You worked out, you did the Peloton, you did the meditation, but I usually got to wake up at 4 to do all that. And that's pretty rough.
Yeah, for sure. Well, I love also that you mentioned, before you do an interview, before you whatever, to kind of, because I do something similar, but it's just a centering kind of a technique. But it's so important to take just a couple minutes, right? To just kind of, drown everything else out. But I would love to now kind of shift into your experience in the industry. And here's the thing. So for me, and I only know what I've experienced, right? But so my husband's got a pretty large job as an executive. We go to a lot of galas, we go to a lot of auctions. There is booze everywhere, right? If you even bid on an auction item and you win it, there's your big magnum of champagne, right? And so I'm wondering what your experiences have been like being in the industry that you're in, trying to get sober and then being a sober person in recovery.
Amy, you said something there because I immediately thought of something. I remember the premiere of The Walking Dead, okay? The opening premiere party. And it was this massive party. It was my first big premiere. And I'm like, walk in, and it's the best liquor in the world on the walls. And they're, girls are serving it. It's like, it's what you would expect at a freaking high level premiere, right? And I'm like, wow. Not one part of me wanted to drink. Not one part of me. I'd gotten to that point already that it wasn't how I walked in. But what I remembered was this. The last time I quit drinking, the final time. And it was after my radio show. And we did a beer of the week, the thing I was just telling you about, right? And man, I got drunk at work by 11:30. Like I was hammered off like rum, like some degenerate. Like who gets drunk on rum by 11:30? Like shots of rum, because how it is. It was building. Don't drink beer. Don't drink liquor, Carlos. Don't drink liquor. I promise I won't drink liquor. Next thing you know, it's built up. Now I'm calling my wife. And she's like, you're drunk at work, Carlos? And this was like, I'm a radio guy, so like it's almost okay, bizarrely enough. And then fast forward to that night, and I just went into full-blown victim. Last, my wife just said, you're, just disgusted. I'm done with you. Walked out on, I'm done. Yeah. But one of those things was, I haven't booked this, and only being a big baby. And she's like, Carlos, the crazy thing is you quit drinking and you'll book The Walking Dead. You quit drinking, all these opportunities are going to open for you. I shit you not, Amy. I quit drinking. Like 6 weeks later, I book a role I've been trying to get 5 years.
That's amazing. I love it. I love it because it shows how the doors open for you and sobriety. I literally thought when I quit drinking, my life was over. I distinctly remember being in a meeting, looking out the window at a tree and literally thinking my life is over. And what I didn't realize was it was just the beginning. And even now I'm like, I get it. I see why people are like, oh, it just keeps getting better. At first, I thought that was just kind of a cheesy thing that people said, but I can see that now, that it's like so much bigger than I can imagine.
Amy, I think because we're tested that way. I think the universe is like, you think I'm going to give you this? And then you're going to go to The Walking Dead. And for you, I'm sure it was different things, obviously. But like, let's say I walk in, let's say the universe and God goes, I got you. And you're still in the wine. I'm still drinking. I walk in that party. I act like an asshole. And I lose the gig. Do you know what they loved about me? I was 2 seasons, 10 episodes, a real good crew of people. We would go to dinner every night. The second I would sit down, they would order me a non-alcoholic beer. Hey, we need a like they take pride. It's almost like, do you notice that when we're around people that they know you're not, they almost like, man, they do you see the guilt? I say guilt with like, for lack of a better term, right? But like, they almost toil over their own kind of thing. Have you noticed that?
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. And it is interesting because I found that the people who want to know a lot about my getting sober and how I knew I was an alcoholic, that's always kind of the big one, are the ones who are kind of huge drinkers themselves, and they're kind of trying to see, like, almost prove that they're not one. Which I get it. I did that same
Yeah, we
thing.
did it too. We
Yeah.
did. You know what it is? You know, it's like, unfortunately, like somebody gets lung cancer and you're like, oh, damn, man, damn, that sucks. And you're
Yeah.
like, but did they smoke? Because, you want to know, like, am I doing those things? Like, because like, how many drinks did you have a day, Amy? Because I only have 4. Did you have 5? Because you're an alcoholic.
Right, right, right. It's the whole like, cancer. Okay, do you eat all organic food, or do you like trying to, get to the bottom of it? And
I tell you, what feels good is the doctor's office. When the doctor goes down the line and says, how many drinks do you have per day? And you go, none. And they go,
yeah,
how many drinks do you have per week? None. And they go, how many drinks do you have? You're like, look, I don't drink. They always go like,
yeah,
they give me the old, like, okay,
yeah. I love that. I get like a certain satisfaction in that exact scenario that you just described. It feels so amazing. It's just like,
Yeah, because
yeah,
before you'd lie.
none. Oh, for sure, for sure. And I was lying to the people who could help me.
Right.
Like all the doctors, all the psychiatrists, everybody was, how much do you drink? Oh, I have a glass of wine or two with friends. You know what I mean? Like, not telling anybody about like the vodka that was in my coffee cup in the car right
The
outside
Spencer's gift size wine glass that you're drinking out of.
right? So crazy. Yeah. Well, I love that. Are you pretty vocal about your recovery in that space of the acting world, or are you a little more reserved about it? I mean, it seems like you are a helper. I can tell right now that you are, you know, ready to, just come alongside people and bring the best version of themselves forward.
Yeah, thank you for saying that, because that's honestly is such a nice compliment and something I really do take pride in. I like maybe too much at times. Like I'll meet somebody, I'll immediately start asking about their life. I'll immediately, and especially if it's about drinking, doing a radio show for 20 years where it's talk 5 hours and you're doing a lot of talking, and they've seen literally the descent, the up, the down. They've seen me in the newspapers. So I have this really huge platform of people who reach out every day. People reach out. Hey man, having trouble drinking. Hey man. And most of them are way worse off than I was.
Mm.
Way worse off. It's like they tell me what they drink and I'm like, damn, I was just like, but that's when I first started personal development. I just help people on the side. I would just be talking to them. Hey, give me your number. You want to call me? Like, these are people who listen to me for like, yeah, man, I'm not going on the radio. I'm like, no, I don't tell people about this. I just want to know you're not talking to anybody else. Like, I haven't told anybody. And that's a weird thing. They almost, oh, how'd you do it?
Yeah.
So my mom died from it. My mom died, in a fire, unfortunately, and
So sorry.
she didn't have to go that way.
Yeah.
She didn't have to go that way. And there's a lot of people that if they would just, as I looked at my life, I was like, what is the main thing that keeps messing up my life? And it was alcohol,
Mm.
and so when I eliminated that, it just a lot changed. And so once again, I really say this, it is my moral obligation to help people. I don't think it's my main thing. Like once I started talking and doing these like press tours and stuff like that, I never was like, put me as the guy that quit drinking and then I'll talk about that. But then once the story kind of got out more, so that's what's kind of been a big overarching thing. And I'm very proud of it. And hopefully it can help some people,
That's fantastic. So then do you do like private coaching on the side, or how
Yeah.
does your business work?
Kind of all of it, motivational speaking, group coaching, courses. And then one-on-one. Yeah, the one-on-ones are really cool. And I call them my teammates because I'm a coach and I'm a player coach. So we get in there and we're working on making your life better. And it's not about business and it's not about, flipping houses and all these other like personal development. It's just straight up like, let's get control of your life and go towards your passions, right? Because that's how it solved me, the whole passion project and tapping into your passion, because people have anxiety and stress because they haven't lived out their passions in any realm, right? So
Tell
when you
me
have,
more about that. That's so good. But
so
sorry.
listen, no, yeah, no. So ready? So then people go, what do they go do? They consume alcohol. They sit there, they watch the shows that they wish they were in, and they don't leave the couch, they don't exercise, and they trap their energy, right? That turns into depression and it turns into anxiety. So my goal is to say, hey, you want to act? Listen, good luck making it to Marvel. I barely made it there. I got to tell you, it's super hard. But do you want to act in your play in the town, in your community? Because they're looking for people. And I'm telling you, you're going to get the same buzz I got from walking on that set. It's the same thing. I've done them both. You like guitar? Do you got to be John Mayer? No? Okay. How about playing? You see what I'm saying? Like people think it's so, but you're an actor? How are you an actor? I made it work. And so I'm a happy person. So I don't have this huge anxiety and depression issues because I'm living out my passions, and everybody can do it. But you got to fix those things in life that are hindering you. And usually it's just how you think.
Yeah. I love what you're saying because it's so true. The process of letting go of the things in your life that no longer serve you. Maybe they served us for a time, right? When we were totally 100% all about us all the time.
Right.
But in order to, get that fulfillment and that real soul filling, purpose going, and to start that engine takes elimination of that baggage. And it doesn't seem like an easy thing to do at the beginning. I know there were, months where I was like, God, I'm not making any progress. You know why? Because I wanted an instant fix. Like for me, it took a while. It took a few months to, unpeel everything and really get that sense of like, I'm obsessed with booze because I don't want to feel what I'm feeling, and to really just be okay with being uncomfortable in my own skin. Took a while.
Yeah.
Wow. Yeah. Can you relate to that at all, or did it happen sort of more instantaneously for you? I know you said it was only like 6 weeks till you got The Walking Dead, but
Well, I got to tell you, it's interesting because alcohol was such a part of me, like it was with you, and I couldn't see myself any different. But when I started doing things that I wanted to raise my overall standard of life, the alcohol was the one thing that I kept going to and going, well, this keeps messing it up. And how did I know that? And this is something I'm a big believer in. I'm looking around my studio here, is the best book you will ever have in your library is your personal journal, your personal notebook. You need a cornerstone. You need something that you can physically write out, not on your phone, not like I got it all in my head. No, it is a physical act, a serotonin release, if you're sharing it with somebody, an oxytocin release that doesn't happen anywhere else, that you can later go back to. And I can go to notebooks that says, I will quit drinking. I'm no longer going to do this. I'm no longer going to do this. And it didn't happen instantaneously. Just like you said, you're not going to climb a mountain, the biggest mountain of your life, in one day. You're going to climb it just a little bit. But then if you don't look down to make sure you're advancing, it will all feel the same. That's what the notebook does.
So true. I was, I have this memory as you were talking about when I was in treatment. We had these spiral notebooks / journals, right? And we had to write down all this, stuff. We had to do this paperwork and blah, 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 and step one, and answer all these questions about our childhood and stuff. And I remember leaving treatment and thinking, I want nothing more to do with this thing. I'm so embarrassed by everything that's in here. I want to throw it away And you know what? I didn't. I actually kept them in
Good
like
for
a
you.
lockbox. And I didn't know what happened to the lockbox because we've moved 3 times since then. And I found it literally 2 weeks ago and I opened it up and I was just like, wow, it was like I was reading about someone else. And although I
Yes.
remember those feelings, I mean, it was trippy. So I love that suggestion to journal it out because when you look back, you can see progress and it's amazing and it's encouraging.
Yes. Yeah, I'm so glad you found that because yeah, people think they can do so much in their heads, and I'm telling you, our heads are just a messy office desk that we're very comfortable with, but it's not for organization, it's not for recall, it's not for any of that. It's to keep you out of trouble. And if you can just have a basis and look, because we're really good at looking back after 10 years. Like you can look back at 10 years and go, oh, 2012, kind of get an idea of where you were at financially, what job you were doing. 5 years a little hazier, 2 years, good luck. It's all the same. So
Right.
when you really have something to go back to, a physical item, because like what you said is important, right? When you looked at it and saw it, you wanted to throw up because when it goes from here to your pen to paper, it's a physical, real thing that we've been doing for 50,000 years.
Mhm.
And so it's an exporting. Think of it as a hard drive. And that's what I tell a lot of people. The reason you're having this anxiety and buildup of stress and depression and guilt is because that's energy trapped in your brain. I bet you haven't worked out today. Bet you haven't taken a walk today. I bet you haven't written a single thing down about your day or your week. So you're stressing and anxiety.
Mhm.
I feel really bad, really, really bad for people who have a true chemical imbalance. And I'm telling you, like that's a very small percentage of people that that you see them and they need hardcore medication. But a
Mhm.
lot of people need their thinking just rewired a little bit. Let
Mhm.
go of those limiting beliefs. I'm a
Mhm.
drinker, man. That's who I am. Oh, really? When did you define yourself?
Yeah.
18? I
Mhm.
defined myself as 18-year-old Carlos until I was 30 something years old. That's who I was in my head. You know exactly what I'm
Oh,
talking about.
yes, I do. I do, because what you're talking about, it's a crucial part in my mind of letting go of who we think we are and allowing that identity to be stripped down so that we can really stop and go, okay, who do I want to be? Like who because this doesn't ring true. Like I didn't wake up one day when I was a kid, I was never like, I hope someday I'm going to be lying in a jail cell on some rubber sheets and, totally detoxing in King County Jail. I can't wait, right? Like I never did that. So then what are some of the things that I do want to cultivate? Well, now I want to, cultivate this and that and the other thing. And it is kind of interesting. I'm like actually doing all that shit. Like
Yes.
I'm not doing, I sort of have my hand in so many different cookie jars, but I get to do that today. I
Yes.
mean, before you couldn't rely on me to show up at, 3 o'clock in the afternoon for something because who knew if I was going to be drunk or sober? I couldn't be involved in anything later in the day. And in the morning, I was too hungover. So maybe I had like a decent 2 hours every day that maybe you could get me at a sober moment. And it was like, that's not a way to live. It's
It
not
was
how I want to live.
indiscriminate.
Yes.
It wasn't malicious, and that's a word I use a lot. Les Brown is one of my favorite people in the world, and if you're
Mhm.
listening to this and you don't know Les, go look him up. That the dude is powerful, and he says that word a lot, and it stuck with me because that's how I honestly kind of explain my drinking. Was like I wasn't malicious, I was indiscriminate, I wasn't conscious with what I wanted. I was talented, I got lucky, I got some breaks and things were working out for me, but there wasn't a lot of conscious thought. And when you have a lot of conscious thought and planning, that takes responsibility. And you can't do that when you're messing around. And so when you actually clean up your act, then you're like, oh, your standard has raised. You've leveled up. So you can look down at that last version you were and go, oh, yeah, I can't do that again. and you can do more things. So it sounds like you're being extremely conscious with your time and wanting to productively use it, and that's what a lot of people just don't do that. They don't give their life enough thought. They give their thought more to the series. And I love a good Netflix series. Hell, I've been a part of many of them, but they give more thought about the upbringing of Queen Viserys Targaryen from House of Dragons. Like, I'm a nerd. I talk about all that stuff too, but I listen to somebody talking like, you've never thought about your own life in that much detail, let alone, and I wish more people would do that.
Well, that's so interesting because I had a conversation recently. My friend was telling me that the principal of her school, she's a teacher, has a think hour scheduled into every day. Like, there is an hour where you don't disturb him, you don't ask for an emergency meeting, nothing. And that is his think time. And I thought that was kind of profound, because I
Yes.
think that what I do is I'll say like a quick prayer about something, or I'll spend a couple minutes, centering, but I don't ever do that. And I thought,
Wow. Really, Amy? You don't do
interesting.
that?
Not for like an hour.
Well, an
No.
hour's a long time. I don't know. You
Yeah.
have kids and everything like that. You ain't getting an hour. But do you manifest? Do you ever sit down and think about what you want to happen in the future?
I do. Like The Secret that you mentioned earlier, that was a great book for me. I mean, the whole concept of that changed my life. I don't really spend a lot of time manifesting so much anymore. It's something that I did more of when I was in earlier recovery, but it's one of those things, if you don't do it, you're not getting the benefits. It's kind of
100%. 100%. I try and do that in the morning. One of the things, and it's manifesting is a fancy word for practice run. Okay. So busy days, like for example, on the Marvel set, they're crazy shoots. You don't know what to expect. I would sit in my trailer. I would close my eyes. And just like you would experience a bad emotional moment where you can still sit back and think, oh God, you think about those tough times. The reverse of PTSD is actually the happy version of it. And so what I'll do is I'll be like, oh, now think about me having a good time. Oh, I walk on a set, everybody's smiling. And I try and just go through your day and you mentally picture it. That's manifesting. And so what your brain doesn't know the difference. That's the crazy thing. Proven. Your brain doesn't know whether you're actually doing something or thinking it. So you get this practice run. And if it's a triggering day, your brain will go through, oh, I didn't think about the fact that they're going to have tequila there. I didn't think, and that's my trigger. You know what? I probably won't. Okay, you know what? I'm going to call them and tell them that I will meet. You see, and you get that from the benefit of in your own bedroom in the morning. It takes 2 minutes, 3 minutes, 4 minutes. And that's what I think is a great thing to do. So it's not like you're trying to think of the greatest thing in the world to happen to you. You're literally, and so many times I've been like, oh my gosh, I did not think about that.
Yep. Well, what I hear you saying, and I mean, my favorite recovery tool is reframing, like that, to reframe the situation. But I feel like that even takes that a step further. So if I'm going to reframe a situation, like for example, there's something currently going on in my life where I'm just like, I can't get this person to hear me. Like I'm not communicating well. I have to figure out, how to get through to him. What's his style of communication? I'm doing all this stuff. Whereas really, I'm sure it's not what it first appears to be at all.
Right.
Like that's number one. And then number two, it's sort of like, what if I went in there and I wasn't scared of talking to this person? Instead, I was like assuming, in fact, sort of declaring mentally that it was going to go well. It can't hurt me.
Right.
Right.
Right. Right.
What's the worst that could possibly happen? It goes horribly from my perspective, whatever that is. Oh, well, at least I would have walked in there with a sense of confidence and with a sense of, love and tolerance and a sense of hope.
Well, your intention.
Yeah.
Your intention. I think you just explained exactly what you probably could do, which is you said it yourself, you're afraid to talk to this person for some reason.
Yep.
And that's actually how you start the conversation.
Mhm.
Hey, because I have that same problem. I'm going through the same thing, but I'm on the end of people are sometimes afraid to talk to me for whatever reason, because of my energy, or whatever, because I play a bad guy on TV, whatever.
Yeah.
So that's how you can lead the conversation. Hey, I don't know why, but I'm a little afraid to talk to you about it. What? Why? I don't know.
Yeah.
But good for you for being conscious of that. I've never heard like reframing, and I like that. And that's a good thing to sit there and think of the conversation back and forth and what they would say and what you would say, and with your eyes closed and in that thinking time. And I think you'll find something in there.
You're so right, because that's one of the best things that I as a parent have used is if there's a crunchy kind of not fun conversation I have to have,
Sure.
I always start with, I really don't want to do this. I really don't want to have this conversation. I'm scared. And will tell you what I'm scared of is losing the closeness that I have with
Sure.
that child. And I tell them that, right? I'm scared you're not going to want to come home for Thanksgiving dinner. I'm scared of this. I'm scared of that, and it's just so funny because it totally dissipates for them, any kind of weird feeling because they're just like, oh my
Absolutely.
gosh, mom, like whatever. And they're so used to me now doing that kind of thing, but it levels the playing field because I just don't want my kids, to think that I'm trying to um come down on them. It's like, no, I'm beside you, like I'm shoulder to shoulder. I don't know, I don't have the manual. Nobody gave me the parenting manual.
No.
I'm figuring this out and I'm just a person and I'm just here to tell you my experiences. But it's like, yeah, it's a tough thing, this
Well,
whole
it
parenting thing.
is. Your kids don't know you just use an FBI tactic on them.
Oh,
Okay.
really?
Chris Voss was one of the head FBI interrogators in the world for the United States, and he's part of the Black Swan group, which is this all mental kind of debate. I don't know. He's great, and he wrote this book. And actually, what the thing you talk about is called an excuse audit. And so
Oh,
when you're talking to somebody, you both know what the feeling is, and you both know what it is. So you might as well just get it out there. So like what you're doing is brilliant because it takes that uncomfortable look. This is what I'm worried about, and I'm going to tell you what it is. So don't think that I don't know about it. And now we can get past this.
I love it, right? And I feel like some of that only comes in sobriety and recovery, is that ability to just really tell the truth, frankly, and
Yes.
to really say
Yes.
what it is. Because, I was so full of smoke and mirrors when I was drinking, and I didn't know. I didn't know that, oh, I'm afraid of whatever it is, losing something I think I need, losing something, that I love, and that there's never going to be anything else besides that. Like, just so full of fear and not knowing what I was,
Amy,
just not
what
knowing.
you said was so important right there. Like you quitting drinking. Like, do you know how hard it is to parent your kid when they look at you and they go, "Man, shut the hell up, you drunk."
Yeah.
When they get to an
Yeah.
age. And that happens a lot quicker than I realized. I used to think, nah, it wouldn't be till like they're 13. I have an 11-year-old girl and I have a 2-year-old daughter. So um, my 11-year-old sharp and smart and would know it in 2 seconds if she saw me drunk. She's never seen me drunk because she doesn't. It's the most amazing feeling. So if I'm trying to parent my daughters, and then the next weekend it's drunk daddy, and I'm like, and they're like going to bed like, oh God, you lose any credibility, and that affects every time you parent,
Yeah. Yeah.
conscious or unconscious.
Right. And you know what? It's such a 180 from how at least I was raised, and
Oh,
nothing against my parents. They did a great job with the tools that they had, but generationally speaking, like, people didn't do that. You know what I mean? It was kind of
hell no.
do as I say, not as I do, and don't question me, and all of this. Nobody apologized, and so it's just such a different thing. And I think it takes, frankly, a lot of balls to just say, this is really how I'm feeling. I'm just a person, by the way. Like, I happen to be your mom, but I'm also just a person,
Yeah.
and I'm feeling, all this different, mini series of scenarios that are keep flashing through my mind of what could happen after this. And And I think, you know, at least that's what my older kids have told me is like that normalizes it for them, you know, because somewhere along the way I picked up some messaging that I was supposed to be like, everything was supposed to be amazing and easy all the time and therefore perfect. Really, truly, like I believe this. And so it's kind of funny, like once, you know, you start truth telling and just, no, this is really what I'm feeling. My spirit is kind of broken and I'm just whatever. And, you know, getting that out, it's same as being as sick as your secrets, right? It's like
Yeah.
takes the power that it has, the hold over me, kind
Well,
of
how old are your oldest kids?
21
Oh,
and 22.
wow. Look at you. I didn't even realize that. And
Yeah.
that's an age I've never, I mean, obviously I know 21-year-old, my daughter's 11 though, and you kind of learn as you go, you get up to the stage and then there's the next one. But man, they've seen you at both, right? They kind of barely remember that former Amy, right? You know,
Yep.
they just know this one. And how awesome is that? Because it could be the other way, which is like most of the time when you get old at 21 and you look at your parents, nothing against them, and you're like, damn,
Right.
they're struggling, you
Yeah.
know?
Yeah. Yeah. I am like, I'm constantly amazed. You, I mean, have a sense about you and an energy about you that I don't know. I love seeing this in people who follow their path of recovery, where it leads, where they, you know, set a goal and then they're there because they made those intentional steps along the way to actually achieve that. And I think that's inspiring to me because I tend to lean more on the side of mystery, like, okay, whatever happens is fine, which there's a time and a place for that.
Sure.
But I'm kind of gonna be on a treadmill a little bit, you know,
Okay.
and
Okay.
as opposed to getting out with, you know, shoes on the ground kind of thing and opening the door and going. So it's just an interesting, I love hearing this because it's just very inspiring.
Well,
Like, thank
thank
you
you.
for
And
sharing all this.
I'm really glad it connected with you. And you know, it's rare to be able to just like openly talk about this like we are in a full-blown conversation, and everything is about it. A lot of times you kind of don't talk about it because it's you know, you talk with your friends and they're drinking and you don't want to talk about it because I don't know, fine, you know,
Mhm.
and that's part of it. And but I think yeah, intentionality for me brings me a lot of peace.
Yes.
um the discipline, I'm like I said before, I'm not very disciplined with pizza eating. I'm not very disciplined with chocolate. I love chocolate. I like little sweet treats. I am very disciplined with my marriage, you know, like I'm very disciplined as a father. I'm very disciplined as a worker, like with what of the stuff I do. um but I can admit that. And then with my kids, I think the big thing is that my kids see that, like,
Mhm.
the quicker your kids can stop seeing you as like the end all be all, the perfect
Right,
person,
right.
the better they're going to deal with other things, because that slam is hard when you think that the people above you really knew what the fuck they were. Oh, excuse me. I don't know, you
Yeah.
know
No,
what
it's
they were
fine.
doing. Okay. You know, but so I appreciate what you say about that because yeah, I am shocked sometimes that I'm where I'm at. I'll tell you this. My mugshot was all over the news stations because I was still a radio guy then and everything like that. And it was on, it said local cam G6 on the side. And I always remember it because I have the picture or whatever. It was on the news. And then literally this week I was interviewed by the head anchors of Channel 6 to that same station to tell this story. And it's a whole story of the redemption, however many years later. It trips me out.
Mm. That's
Like,
the best. That's like the full circle picture right there. I mean, I just got goosebumps hearing that. That's incredible.
it trips me out, Amy. It really does. And man, the stuff I would have missed out on, like
Right?
the stuff you miss out on. I look at the people who didn't get the message.
Yeah.
They stayed in victim, and maybe you're listening to this right now.
Mhm.
And I get it. I get it. Life's tough. but man, the other side is better. The grass is greener on the other side.
Mm-hmm. Well, it's true. And that rings so true for me because sometimes I'll get asked if I'm wrapping up an interview, I'll get asked, what's kind of your one message that you would say to somebody who's, at home, drinking, drunk at 11:30, right? And I'll always say, that I want you to picture that if you just gave it up, if you just stopped, that maybe a life beyond your wildest dreams could be waiting for you. Like, would that have made me stop earlier if I ever believed that? And I never did. I thought life was booze, was escaping,
Yeah.
right? And when I was at my tail end, I couldn't imagine life with or without it. Like, I just kind of was like, I have to stop, but no, I just need to balance it. And so I'm just curious. I mean, you're so full of, you're like a wealth of information. Is there like one message that you kind of would love to have people know, or you've given us so many takeaways already, but do you have one kind of foundational, fundamental message?
Don't give up on yourself. Everybody, 99.9% of people gave up on me. I fortunately didn't give up on myself. I was fortunate that I had these hooks of my passion still there, very strong, of wanting to do these things. I was fortunate that I had my then fiance, now wife of 15 years. That was like, oh no, buddy, we're not losing you just yet. I was fortunate, right? But if I didn't have that, I would have just had myself. And too quickly, people give up on themselves. They give up on themselves before they take their first step. And maybe it's not sobriety. Maybe it's their business. Maybe it's a degree. Maybe it's being a mother. But if you can sit and every day just cut yourself a little break and say, all right, I'm not trying to be better than that person. I'm not trying to be better than the person I see on Instagram. I'm just trying to be better than the person I was yesterday. 5% better. And don't give up on yourself, because you're the last person that you should ever give up on.
That is the message of the day. If you are listening to this, that's the takeaway of absolute gold. Don't give up on yourself. I mean, that like pierced me like a knife. Thanks for sharing that, Carlos.
Oh, thank you. I really hope it, sometimes I've heard that times when, and I know it seems like a simple statement, but if you really, how quickly do you give up on yourself?
Yep. Very quickly, usually for me. Once I start feeling like, I'm failing at something, it's like, screw it, So I love that. Such a powerful message. It really is. And, also, if you haven't read the 4 Agreements, you got to do that. Carlos mentioned that book, and the Willpower Doesn't Work book. I have not read that yet, so I need to read that, but I have heard that from a lot of people. And that is fantastic. The ritual.
The 12 steps really aligns a lot with the Stoic philosophy, Marcus Aurelius. And it's a lot about ownership. And I really believe that. I think, if you're able to listen to the 4 Agreements, that's like the basis. I would hand that to anybody. Hey, you want to get started with personal development? Secret's great. But if you really want to go on, and Secret for sure was one of the books that got me on a great path. But it's a lot about, it's all mental. It's so mental. It's amazing what people will say about themselves. I met a young, beautiful lady who was excited to meet me at a convention, and she had made all this marble jewelry. And I was talking to her, and she's like, "Oh, I do that." I say, "Hey, where'd you stand at? Hey, let me walk over." Her name was Karen. And I walk over. She goes, "Oh, these are just my little things, and I don't really," I said, "Karen, before I can even give you a compliment on your stuff, you're already diminishing it." You're right. Oh my God. And her husband's like, "You see, amazing. It's amazing. It takes somebody to go like, where's that?" So watch what we say. Don't give up on yourself,
Oh my gosh. I love it. Carlos, thank you so very,
Thank
very
you.
much. What a pleasure. What an honor to meet you. And where can people find you to find out more?
Yeah, it's quite easy. You can go to my website. It's iamcarlosnavarro.com. But just like everybody else, I'm always on social media, and it's at To the Top Carlos, because that's my saying. It's to the top, never stop. Okay, we got to keep going to the top. We can't stop. We just got to the top.
I love it. Okay, that's wonderful. And Carlos, I wish you all the best. I can't
Thank you.
wait to watch you continue to skyrocket. And so to everybody else, thank you for listening. Be kind, rewind. Thank you for the honor of your time. Take what you like and leave the rest behind.